Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Math 31, Calculus, Chapter 1, Lesson 4, Piecewise Functions, Part 3. So, rather than make the video too darn long, anyway, find the limit as x approaches 5 from the negative of the square root of 5 minus x. Now, this one's a little bit sneaky, but I want you to realize the domain for this is like 5 minus x. You're taking the square root, so that's got to be greater than or equal to 0. So this is technically a piecewise function. Minus x is greater than or equal to minus 5, or x is less than or equal to 5. So you're coming at 5 from the negative side, which is the smaller part, so this works. So what happens here? Now, of course you can graph it. So 5 minus x, 5, or something like that. So what happens as x approaches 5 from the negative side, the graph goes to 0. Now, that's graphing, and that's fine if you can graph it. But I want you to realize you should be able to plug the numbers in. 5 minus 4.9, square root of 0.1, 5 minus 4.99, square root of 0.01, 5 minus 4.999, because you're coming in from the negative side, the smaller. And I should just prove to you. Step that, you poopy head. I just love when the calculator decides not to work in the middle of everything. Okay, so square root 2.03 1 I should have done this earlier. So 0.32 to 0.1 to 0.03, this is going to 0. All right? So you should be able to prove that algebra, or you should be able to determine that algebraically. You shouldn't have to draw a graph, because sometimes it's a pain to draw a graph. Now, last question, last example. Show that the limit as x approaches 0 of the absolute value of x equals 0 by the definition of the existence of a limit. Now, definition of a limit. We did back here. Where'd that? No. Here we go. This is the definition of a limit down here. I'll make that orange. I haven't done orange. The limit of f of x does not equal, sorry. The limit of x approaching a from the negative side of f of x does not equal the limit of x approaching a from the positive side of f of x. The limit of f of x does not exist. If the limit x approaching a from the negative side of f of x equals the limit of x approaching a from the positive side of f of x, then the limit x approaching a of f of x is equal to L, sum is the limit. All right. Now note that number doesn't have to exist. So we went back here. The limit, so you get this one here. G of 0 is undefined, but the limit exists because we can see the graph as we're approaching. As we approach 0. It doesn't actually have to exist. Anyway, blathering. As I said, I always draw the graph. There we go. Now, what you guys have to do, f of x, realize it's a piecewise function. It's minus x. X is less than or equal to 0. And it's plus x. X is greater than 0. All right? So, that means the limit as x approaches 0 from the negative side of f of x be the limit as x approaches 0 of negative x, which is negative 0 or just 0. The limit as x approaches 0 from the positive side, as the absolute value of x, is the limit as x approaches 0 from the positive side of plus x. Plus 0 is still 0. A positive 0 is still 0. So, we can combine these two terms. The limit as x approaches 0, the absolute value of x, is 0. Okay? So that's by definition, we can find the limit. And it happens to equal 0. Because you can graph it and you can see it. Right? Now I'm going to be quiet because I think that's enough to hurt your brain. Any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, work on the homework, please. Yep, page 27, 1, 2, 4 to 7. Any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, good luck.